For the last 10 years, major technology companies have operated with a massive, unchecked advantage. They set the rules of our digital lives, and for the most part, we just nodded along. This top-down control showed up in very specific ways. Software updates arrived packed with mandatory apps you never asked for. Premium hardware was designed to degrade and die right on schedule, and every click, pause, and search was harvested for targeting profiles. People are exhausted. It is incredibly frustrating to watch a $1,000 device become a paperweight in 3 years, and there is a pervasive, creeping anxiety that our own smartphones are spying on our conversations. Public trust in them has completely evaporated. But suddenly, the pressure is moving in the opposite direction. As of this week, Silicon Valley is caught in an intense accountability squeeze. On one side, massive regulators and global authorities are pressing down from the top. On the other, grassroots consumer movements are pushing back from the bottom. The default setting where tech dictates terms to humanity is breaking down. The fight over who actually controls our devices is fully underway. The Federal Trade Commission just dropped a $930,000 fine on a company called Cox Media, signaling a highly aggressive new approach to privacy enforcement. Cox Media was pitching advertisers a service called Active Listening, claiming they used AI to secretly monitor conversations through smartphone microphones to target ads. The service didn't even exist. They were just buying standard email lists from data brokers and reselling them. But the fact that advertisers eagerly lined up to buy this fake spyware shows exactly how willing companies are to exploit our privacy fears, and regulators are finally punishing it. Right down the street, the Department of Justice is locked in an incredibly complex antitrust war with Apple over monopoly power. Apple is fighting back with a fascinating legal strategy. They're demanding procurement documents from 14 federal agencies, including the FBI and the Department of Defense. Apple wants to prove that if the U.S. government itself relies on iPhones for highly sensitive operations, their market dominance comes from actual security superiority, not from anti-competitive abuse. Meanwhile, moral pressure is mounting alongside the legal threats. Pope Leo XIV has just released a blistering 150-page encyclical on artificial intelligence, directly calling out companies like OpenAI and Google by name. The Vatican's document warns that concentrating AI algorithms in the hands of a small corporate elite creates a dangerous system of invisible manipulation. It draws hard lines against autonomous weapon systems and cautions that automating human cognitive work threatens our identity and purpose. The Vatican spent 2 years consulting with policy experts, so these warnings closely mirror emerging legislative frameworks in the United Nations and the European Union. Regulators and ancient institutions are coordinating their strategies. They are actively dismantling the narrative that tech companies should be left alone to innovate however they want. The pressure from the bottom is just as intense. Millions of independent users are downloading a community-built project called Tiny11 to rescue their older PCs from forced expiration dates. This chart shows exactly what Tiny11 does. A standard Windows 11 install demands over 20 gigabytes of storage and 4 gigabytes of RAM. By stripping out dozens of background apps and services users never touch, a solo developer shrunk the OS to a lean 6 gigabytes, needing only 2 gigs of RAM. Cutting this bloat bypasses artificial hardware locks, so the operating system runs beautifully on older machines Microsoft officially declared incompatible. Hardware companies are also being forced to adapt to this consumer demand for longevity. Take Sennheiser, which just launched its premium Momentum 5 wireless headphones. This timeline shows the financial impact of their main feature. Over a 9-year period, a typical user spends about $1,200 buying a new $400 pair every 3 years, when the built-in lithium-ion battery inevitably dies. Sennheiser lets you swap in a $25 replacement battery yourself with a screwdriver, dropping your total cost to under $500. Even console giants like Nintendo are feeling the heat. Facing a seasonal drop in spending and fierce competition, they've rolled out a highly strategic choose-your-game bundle for the Switch too. Buyers get a major first-party game included with the console, giving them an immediate discount while locking in a purchase before Nintendo implements a planned $50 price hike in September. It is a genuine value offer, proving that companies have to give ground when consumers tighten their wallets. When everyday people refuse to accept unnecessary bloatware or artificial expiration dates, multi-billion-dollar corporations eventually have to surrender some of their control. The reaction to all of this has been incredibly defensive. When asked about the Pope's encyclical, Silicon Valley leaders waved away the concerns, insisting that AI will solve humanity's greatest challenges and that any fear risks holding back progress. But beneath those dismissive public statements is a real anxiety. Tech executives are realizing they can no longer dictate what constitutes progress. The public simply doesn't believe them anymore. A solo developer saving old laptops, a $900,000 fine, and a religious critique of algorithms all point to the same thing: a push to pull control away from the center and back toward the public. This friction over who holds the power and how they are held accountable is no longer just a theoretical debate. It is the common thread in every one of these legal and social battles. The industry is losing its ability to operate without pushback. As these two forces close in, the old ways of controlling our digital lives are cracking, making room for a model where technology is a tool for human use, not a system for human management.